Hello and welcome to the first virtual presentation of the Ted Donnelly Award. This is a pretty novel situation, and I would much prefer to have been down there at the gathering with you, but unfortunately that wasn't possible. Anyway, the award has been going since 2011. And the inscription that's engraved on it is really pretty self-explanatory. It says, "For outstanding contribution to the shed movement." And the two keywords here really are outstanding, which is pretty obvious, and then movement. This is not, because the award is not limited just to the people working in men's sheds in Australia, but in fact, of the 5 people who have received the award, there's only David Helmers and myself who have really any experience of working in AMSA and local sheds. But other people receiving the award are perhaps not shedders, but they had some special backgrounds that really helped with the development and the building up of the concept of men's sheds. For instance, Barry Golding. He's been researching, writing, talking about the men's shed culture and developments right from the early days. And in his many overseas trips, he's exposed and explained these developments, and really he's introduced the whole concept of men's sheds to the rest of the world outside Australia. Another one is John McDonald, who, as a medical professor working on a number of high-level committees, used these positions to explain to government authorities the medical advantages of working in a men's sheds and the improvement that this did to members' health and general well-being. And then this led to the government actually declaring AMSA as a health charity and opened up the idea for funding as well. But another one is John Avoy, who came over from Ireland to one of our conferences, and he was so impressed that he went back and set up the Irish Men's Shed Association, which, as you all must know, is now a very large organisation and is actually covering sheds both in the north and south of Ireland, and that itself is quite an achievement. So, as you can see, the recipients are not just people working in men's sheds in Australia, but in fact, today's recipients are. And I say recipients because usually we give one award at each conference, but this time we are, because the previous conference was cancelled, we are giving 2 awards today. Unfortunately, like myself, both of these people couldn't be at the gathering, so they're also having the weird experience of talking to a computer and pretending that they're on a podium in the hall with you now talking to you. But I'm sure they'll do okay. Anyway, in January 2007, after I registered AMSA, I contacted a number of people in Australia who were known and had good reputation for their experience and interest in men's sheds. And this was to set up an ad hoc working group to get the association going. And that later that year, AMSA was then accepted at the Manly conference, and the work group carried on as the first AMSA committee. The first recipient today was one of that small group. And by that time, he'd already been 3 years setting up and working in a men's shed, so he really knew what was going on. Throughout all that time, the recipient's experience and his knowledge of his sheds and his own really high personal qualities proved to be extremely helpful in getting AMSA started. During this time, he was also still helping sheds in his own state with their startup and general running problems. And when the sheds decided that they wanted to have their own state association, he led the steering committee to bring that all about. So when I tell you that the state was Western Australia, I think that many of you will have already guessed that the first recipient is Bill Johnstone from the Fremantle shed. And so, Bill, I have great pleasure in announcing that you are the very worthy recipient of this award.
Well, thank you, Ted. I'm humbled and deeply honoured to be the recipient of the Ted Donnelly Award. Really, I'm just a small cog in a rather large, getting larger men's shed movement, which is a fantastic place to be. And it's what an amazing movement it is after all. I mean, it started off with just such a small idea, a German idea, that you were part of that, and we've moved on from there to become an amazing organisation. The men's sheds are really embedded in most communities in Australia and nationally now, of course, as you mentioned in your speech. In Western Australia, we've got about 190 sheds, stretching from Curnow in the north to Esperance in the south. Well, in the early days, so many sheds started off by reaching out to us to find out how they would be able to get a shed in their own community. And what really enthralled me was the way that our members could see the vision of sharing and caring for others, and gave the skills and information that they had, we all had, went out to places. We went to lots of different sheds to help share the message, and from that, the men's shed movement in WA got started. Adding value to our community was our mantra, and we've sustained that right throughout our history. I couldn't have done it myself without the whole shed committee and members being part of that sharing idea. And this award is really an acknowledgement of that. There isn't really a day goes by where I don't think about the incredible men's shed movement journey, and the can we do it, yes we can ethos that it provides most sheds I know is one of the strengths that we have. We're all in a sharing, at the moment we're all sharing really challenging times. It's we don't know what the next wave of this virus will bring, for example. But what we have to do is that men's shed welcome mat has to be bigger, and we make sure that it's there for everybody to be included in the journey of men's sheds, because that's the way we do offer, men's sheds do offer a fantastic space and place for people to gather and build community. And that's really what the shed movement is all about. So thanks to Ted and AMSA for this award. I really cherish it, and wish everybody the best. Thank you.
The second recipient today actually had a similar experience to Bill, in that he was involved in setting up a local shed and then eventually setting up the state association. But this occurred really at a much later time. In fact, it was 2 years after AMSA was established. But then he was elected president, and he held this position for many years. During this time, he was also then a director of the AMSA board, and his work there was really invaluable. He insisted that things were done correctly. He was always very well briefed before meetings. He scrutinized everything, and many of the resulting decisions of the board were greatly improved because of his forensic researching into the details. He really improved the viability of the board. He's really interested in people, and with his big grin and distinctive chuckle, he's someone that is really difficult not to like. He's passionate about men's sheds, and his work for AMSA really was outstanding. And therefore, I am very pleased to present the award to Graeme Curnow of the Kenmore shed in Queensland. So congratulations, Graeme.
Well, wow. Thank you, Ted. These days, it seems convention to say that you're humbled when you receive an award like this, but I'm not humbled, I'm astonished. And I'm pleased and proud to be included in the pantheon of good, great men who've done so much for this social movement, the men's shed movement. Barry Golding, John McDonald, and of course you, Ted. And Bill Johnstone, congratulations, Bill. Pleased to be in your company. Thank you so much for considering me, everybody. God bless the men's shed movement and all who sail in her. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for your time and attention. I hope the electronics worked okay and that we didn't end up with big red noses and funny foreheads. I hope you all had a very interesting and useful conference, and above all, have a safe journey home. So goodbye for now, and I hope to see you next time.